What would you do if you heard a baby crying, alone, in the middle of the night road? In Okirika, pity was a trap, wrapped in dirty cloth and waiting by the roots of the Iroko. One moment, a helpless child, the next, a face too foul to describe. The cry became a howl, the howl became laughter. Shadows with burning eyes whispered curses in tongues not meant for men. Many were taken because compassion blinded them. But one man knelt in the dust, raised his staff, and called on a name stronger than fear. The road grew safe, but the wounds of Okirika remain. This is not just their story, it's a warning. Remember it well, walk wisely, and never forget. Long ago, before the noise of cities swallowed the voices of the forest, there was a village called Okirika. It was a place of red earth and tall palm trees, where the air was heavy with the smell of roasted yam and the songs of women pounding fufu in clay mortars. Life there followed the rhythm of the sun. Men went to farm when the first cock crowed. Women fetched water from the stream. Children played with the goats until the shadows grew long. But in the heart of Okirika, there was also fear. Fear that came with the settling sun. The elders used to say, when the moon hides and the forest keeps silence, beware. For the spirits of the night stretched their arms like hunters waiting for prey. And the people knew exactly which spirit they meant. It was not the python that swallowed goats, nor the leopards that prowled the edge of the village. No, this was worse. It was the story of the baby that cried at the road at night. A baby that was never born. The forest road was the only way in and out of Okirika. In daylight, it was lively. Women walked in groups carrying firewood. Traders pushed wheelbarrows of kola nut. Hunters with bows returned proudly with bushmeat hanging from their shoulders. The laughter of children filled the air as they ran along the path, kicking stones and singing songs. But when the sun set, that same road became another world. Silence wrapped around it like cloth. Even the crickets stopped chirping, as if they feared the thing that lived there. The Iroko tree that bent over the road looked like tall, silent guards, their roots curling across the path like sleeping pythons. And then, sometimes, the silence broke. It started faint, like the whimper of a newborn searching for its mother's breast. Then it grew sharper, louder, until the piercing cry of a baby left in pain. Travelers froze when they heard it, their hearts pulled in two directions. One voice inside them whispered, "Run, run fast before it's too late." But another voice whispered, "What if it is real? What if a poor child has been abandoned?" And those who chose to follow the pity never returned. The first was Adanne, the fish seller. Adanne was known for her kindness. Every market day, she carried baskets of smoked fish to sell. She never refused anyone who begged, not even the laziest drunkard in the village. A little kindness never kills, she often said, smiling. But it was her kindness that carried her into the darkness. One evening, she returned late from the big market in town. The moon was thin like a slice of yam. Her basket was still half full because sales had been poor. She was hurrying, thinking of her children waiting at home. When she heard it, the cry, she stopped. Her heart squeezed. "Eh? Whose child could be left here?" she whispered. She placed her basket down, fish spilling into the ground, and hurried towards the sound. And there it was, a bundle wrapped in dirty clothes, lying by the root of the Iroko. A tiny hand poked out, a small face, wet with tears, turned towards her. The cry was pitiful. Adanne's motherly heart melted. "Ah, poor little one," she said, bending down. She scooped the child, pressed it against her chest, and rocked it gently. But the baby's body grew cold, so cold it burned her skin. Its crying stopped. From its tiny mouth came a sound that made her blood freeze. Laughter, deep, heavy laughter, like the voice of an old man inside a small body. Adanne gasped, but before she could scream, her body vanished into the shadows. The next morning, hunters found a basket overturned on the ground. Fish scattered, a torn wrapper hung from the bushes. But Adanne herself had disappeared, as if the earth had swallowed her whole. The villagers wept. They said maybe she had been stolen by witches. Others whispered, "It is the crying baby." But fear never fully stopped curiosity. Weeks later, it happened again. A young hunter named Oba was bold and reckless. He had always laughed at the warnings of the elders. "What is a baby to frighten a man like me?" he boasted in the village square. I kill bush pigs with my bare hands. I fear no child's cry. That night, Oba returned from the forest with his bow slung across his shoulder. He was whistling proudly when he heard it, the cry. He stopped, grinned and marched towards the sound. What kind of man would I be if I led a child to die in the bush? He said loudly, as if someone was listening. He bent down, lifted the bundle and held it high. See, nothing but a poor little baby. The wailing stopped, the bundle twisted in his hands. The face stretched, the eyes glowed and the cries became a howl. Then laughter that shook the trees. The wind roared through the forest. Oba tried to shout, but the sound died in his throat. The shadow swallowed him. His bowl and quiver dropped to the ground, but Oba was never seen again. From that night, the villagers named it the Road of the Crying Child. No one dared walk there after dusk. Mothers told their children, if you hear a baby cry at night, close your ears and run. Men hurried home from their farms before the sun dipped. Traders left the market early, even if they had not sold their goods. The fear was thick, like smoke that refused to clear. But evil spirits do not weaken by silence. They grow stronger when fear feeds them. Months passed, then years. The baby cried again and again. Each time, someone vanished. A palm wine tapper who staggered too late from the bush. A group of young boys who dared each other to prove their courage. A trader who thought the stories were foolish. Always the same. Belongings left behind, bodies never found. The elders of Okirika grew troubled. They poured libations to the gods. They sacrificed goats at the shrine. They sent messengers to neighboring villages, asking if anyone knew how to break the curse. But the crying did not stop. Some said it was a witch's child, abandoned to lure souls. Others said it was the spirit of a baby who died without burial, seeking revenge. A few whispered it was the devil himself, hiding in the form of innocence. Whatever it was, the people of Okirika lived under its shadow. Then, one year during Harmattan, a stranger came. He arrived at dusk, when the wind carried red dust through the streets, and the children huddled near fires to keep warm. His name was Chike. He was a young preacher, thin but strong, with clear eyes and a calm voice. He carried nothing but a worn Bible tucked under his arm, and a wooden staff with a small cross carved at the top. The villagers welcomed him, as they did with strangers. They gave him roasted yam and palm oil, and a mat to sleep on in the compound of the chief. That evening, as they sat around the fire, they told him of the crying baby. The women spoke with fear. Many have died, they said. Adane, Oba, the palm wine tapper, even the 3 boys, all gone. The old men nodded. The road is cursed. We warn you, stranger. Do not walk there after dark. Even the bravest have perished. Chike listened silently, his face calm. Then he said, the Lord is my shepherd. Even in the valley of shadows, I shall not fear. The villagers shook their heads. They thought he did not understand the danger, but Chike had seen darkness before. He told them quietly of another village where a river spirit lured children to drown. He had lost his own younger sister there long ago, before he became a preacher. He had sworn since then that he would not rest until he carried light into places of shadows. That night, while the village slept, Chike rose. He took his staff, his Bible, and walked towards the forest road. The moon was thin and pale, hanging like a broken calabash in the sky. The Harmattan wind whistled through the branches, making the Iroko groan as if in pain. His sandals crossed on dry leaves, and then he heard it. The cry, soft at first, like a kitten, then louder, heartbreaking, piercing. It echoed through the trees until his chest tightened. Chike stopped. His pulse quickened. He saw the bundle lying by the roots of the Iroko, exactly as the villagers had described. The cloth moved. A tiny hand poked out. The cry shook the silence of the forest. His arms trembled. His heart yearned to pick it up, but he remembered the warning. All that cries like a child is not born of woman. He gripped his staff and whispered, Lord, open my eyes. Then, the wind shifted. The bundle flickered. One moment, a baby. The next, a twisted face too foul to describe, with glowing eyes and a mouth that stretched wide, like the jaws of a beast. The cry became a howl, then laughter, echoing like thunder through the trees. Shadows slid out from the forest, circling him. Their eyes burned like coal. Their whispers slithered into his ears, mocking and tempting. Chike raised his staff and declared, "If you are of God, let his peace rest on you. But if you are of darkness, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ." The ground trembled, the baby screamed, the bundle tore open. Inside was no child, but a written black spirit with claws of iron and wings of smoke. The iroko tree shook violently, its roots crawling across the ground like snakes. Shadows lunged, chanting curses in tongues not meant for men. Chike fell to his knees, opened his Bible, and sang with a trembling voice, "The blood of Jesus set me free from sin and sorrow." The words were fire, the spirit shrieked, twisting, its form breaking apart. The shadows clawed at the air as if burning. A burst of light shot from the staff, striking the earth. The ground split with a loud crack, and a great iroko split down the middle. The spirit wailed, 1,000 voices screaming as one, then burst into smoke and vanished into the night. Silence fell, the forest was still. For the first time in many years, no baby cried on the road. At dawn, the villagers found Chike kneeling by the roadside, weary but alive. His staff stood planted in the earth. Behind him, the broken iroko still smoked. They gathered around him, trembling. Chike said, "The crying baby was never flesh and blood. It was a snare of darkness. Many were taken because compassion blinded them. True compassion is not blind, it has eyes to see. Only with the light of Christ can we know the difference." From that day, the curse was broken. The road became safe. The villagers built a small chapel at the site of the iroko, using its tombs as the altar. Families of the lost mourned, but they found peace, knowing the evil had been destroyed. And even now, when elders tell the story by the fire, they end with these words, "Not every cry is a cry of innocence. Some cries are traps. Learn to see with more than your eyes and hear with more than your ears. For compassion without wisdom can destroy, but compassion guided by God brings salvation." The curse had been broken, yet Okirika did not rejoice as quickly as one might expect. Yes, the road grew safe again, and for the first time in years, travelers could walk under the iroko without fear. But the hearts of the people carried wounds that could not heal in one night. Families gathered to mourn their missing loved ones. Mothers wailed for children who had vanished into the dark forest. Fathers sat in silence, their jaws tight, staring at the ashes of the broken iroko. Brothers and sisters lit small oil lamps and placed them on the road, as if hoping the lost might somehow find their way back. The air of Okirika was heavy with grief, but also with awe. They had seen a man confront a thing that swallowed people like smoke. They had seen him stand with nothing but a staff, a Bible and a trembling voice, and yet he had driven away darkness that even their strongest hunters and most respected elders had failed to defeat. That man was Chike. After that night, the villagers begged him to stay. "Do not leave us," they said. "You are the one who has brought peace. Teach us, guide us." Chike, though young, understood their need. He built no great house, demanded no wealth. Instead, he chose to remain in Okirika, living simply among the people. They gave him a small hut near the chapel they built on the site of the iroko's tomb. Every morning, the sound of his voice praying rose like smoke into the sky, and every evening, his fire lit the road where the cry once echoed. But Chike did not only pray, he walked among the people, listening to their fears and hopes. He sat with the elders under the udala tree, learning their proverbs and teaching them in return. He ate with the poor, shared his yam with hungry children, and comforted the widows who had lost sons and husbands to the cursed road. Yet, even as peace returned, there were questions that troubled the villagers. One evening, they gathered in the square. The moon was full and the air was cool. An old woman named Mama Ifeoma rose to speak. Her voice trembled, but it carried a weight of truth. "My children," she said, "we thank God for his deliverance. But do we truly know what that spirit was? Was it the ghost of an abandoned child? Was it the work of witches? Or was it, as our brother Chike said, a demon from the pit of darkness?" The people murmured, some nodded, others shook their heads. Then an elder, Papa Nwoke, who had lived through many seasons, raised his staff. His face was carved with lines of age, his eyes sharp like a hawk. "Listen to me," he said. "In my youth, I heard of another village where a crying child lured men into the river. They too vanished. These things take the shape of pity, because they know pity is stronger than fear. Fear makes you run, but pity makes you walk straight into the mouth of danger." The crowd agreed, voices rising. It is true, it is true. Chike then stood. His voice was calm, steady. The enemy often wears the mask of innocence. That is why we must have eyes that see beyond the surface. Not every cry is for help. Not every smile is a smile of love. Discernment is the key, and discernment comes from God. The people were silent, the firelight dancing on their faces. Some nodded slowly, as if the words peeled away scales from their eyes. From that night, the story of the crying baby became not only a tale of fear, but also teaching, a warning passed down from parent to child. The seasons turned, Harmattan came and went, bringing dry winds that coated the village in dust. Rains followed, drumming on rooftops, filling the yam barns and swelling the rivers. With each passing season, Okirika healed. The market returned to its bustle. Women once again stayed late, laughing as they haggled over pepper and fish. Hunters whistled as they carried bushmeat down the road, no longer glancing over their shoulders in dread. Children once again dared each other to race past the chapel at night, squealing with laughter when the bravest touched the altar stone and shouted, "I am not afraid." But no one truly forgot. On nights when the wind moaned through the trees, mothers would hush their children and say, "Stay close, remember the road of the crying child." Fathers told their sons, "When your heart feels too soft, guard it with wisdom." And every year, on the anniversary of the curse breaking, the villagers gathered at the chapel. They lit palm oil lamps, sang songs of thanksgiving, and poured libations to remember those who never returned. Chike would stand before them, his staff still firm, Bible worn but whole, and remind them, salvation was bought not by our strength, but by the mercy of God. We must walk in wisdom, for the enemy always looks for another mask to wear. As years passed, Chike's hair grew streaked with white, though his spirit burned as brightly as ever. He became a father to the village, respected not only for the night he broke the curse, but for the countless days he spent guiding, teaching, and loving the people. Children who once clung to their mother's wrappers grew into men and women who called him Papa Chike, and with time, the story of the crying baby grew larger than life. It was told around cooking fires, at moonlight dances, and in the market square. It was told with shaking voices and wide eyes, with gestures of fear and relief. Some told it short and sharp. A baby cried, pity caught them, and they vanished. Others stretched it long, weaving in details of every vanished villager, every failed attempt to banish the spirit, every word Chike spoke that night. And no matter how it was told, the lesson was always the same. Compassion without wisdom leads to destruction, but compassion with discernment brings salvation. One day, long after peace had returned, a traveler came through Okirika. He was a griot, a wandering storyteller who carried a drum on his back and tales on his tongue. He heard the villagers speaking of the crying baby and begged them to tell him more. So the elder sat him down beneath the Udala tree and recounted the story. The griot listened, his eyes wide, nodding slowly. Then he rose, beat his drum softly and said, "Children of Okirika, your story is not yours alone. The world must hear it, for it carries a wisdom like palm oil carries flavor. I will carry it with me to other lands, so that people will learn. When night brings a cry that tugs at your heart, do not rush blindly. Look deeper, ask questions, seek light before you act." And he did. From village to village, the griot carried the tale. The legend of the crying baby spread beyond Okirika, whispered in markets, told by fireside, remembered in proverbs. Even now, long after Chike had joined the ancestors, the story lived. When the child asked, "Papa, why must we pray before every journey?" the father would reply, "Because once there was a baby who cried on the road." When a girl asked her grandmother, "Mama, why must we be careful when pity stirs our hearts?" the old woman would sigh and say, "Because pity without wisdom is a path to the spirit." And one night, when the wind howled through the Iroko trees, the people still crossed themselves, whispering, "May it never return." Thus, my children, the story of the crying baby on the road remains. Not every cry is a cry of innocence. Some cries are traps, bait for the soft-hearted. Learn to see with more than your eyes, and hear with more than your ears. For compassion without wisdom can destroy, but compassion guided by God brings light and freedom. And in Okirika, when the lamps are lit and the fires burn low, the elders still end the tale with the same words. This is the story of the crying baby. Remember it well, walk wisely, and never forget.
Please subscribe to watch more of our videos. Thank you.